I'm at the Heckington Mill for today's masterclass. Working windmills are a big thing in Lincolnshire, but Heckington is the only one with 8 sails. It's been beautifully restored a few years ago and is run by a very dedicated crew of volunteers. My name's Natalie McMillan, and today I'll be presenting the first session of 3 on time management. So let's start with, what is time management? What do we mean? Whenever I go into businesses, work with business owners, they always talk about needing more time. There aren't enough hours in a day. I want to talk about the impact on your people, your staff, your team, when you don't manage your time effectively. So busyness is the new scourge in our society. Everybody talks all the time. I'm so busy, I'm too busy to do this, busy, busy. The impact for that is that we end up with staff or ourselves where we're overloaded and we're caught on that hamster wheel, if you like. We perhaps end a day and think, where did all the hours go? What did I manage to do today? What happened to all those priorities that I wanted to get through? We just run from one thing to another without really stopping and planning. The other really big impact on your staff and yourself is the stress. We become really frazzled, we feel overloaded, we feel unable to think clearly. We know that well-being is a really big topic at the moment, and that's because it's important. So we really need to consider our time management to help all of us work smarter, more productively, and in a healthier way. So what do I mean by work smarter? Well, for me, really successful business owners, people that work in teams, are those that are able to set priorities, and for those priorities to be concise. So rather than having a list, and I've seen this where people have 20 or 30 priorities that they want to get through, it's unrealistic. You have to be focused. So my suggestion is always to look at setting 3 priorities. Then you're really clear what you want to do, you're more likely to do them, and you're going to keep an eye on it throughout the day and throughout the week rather than getting distracted. So 3 priorities. I know it's tough, but trust me, it works. Then to think about a to-do list, the kind of what must I do, what should I do, what could I do, and what will I not do. People often struggle and end up writing a list of things without prioritising in terms of their urgency and how important they are. And so people just work their way through this list rather than really focusing. So always think about, what must I do? I do this every day, without fail. What must I do today? And there's also that great satisfaction at the end of the day when you look and you think, I've done all of the must-dos. Yes, try and do your should-dos, but the must-dos have to come first. And can I also say, it's really therapeutic when you can score off what you're not going to do in a day. Be really realistic. I'm not doing it, and be okay with it. The other bit for me about working smarter is around your time and constantly looking at time. So for me, things like making sure that your phones are put away, are in a dustbin, if you like. I've put it there kind of virtually on the slides, but just move it away. Set aside time where you can focus on different tasks. Be really clear, if I'm going to spend an hour in a meeting, I'm going to spend an hour in a meeting. Actually, dare I say, why do we have meetings that are half an hour or an hour? Perhaps look at having meetings that are 45 minutes, giving yourself some time to move between them. So really think about how you use your time and also look back at it. What did I do with my time today? Did I use it smartly, or did I end up using it, picking up bits and bobs and getting distracted? So I've talked about time management in terms of tips. Let me also talk about what it's not. So I often talk about heroic leadership, if you like, and people putting on their kind of superhero cape. In they go, ready to cram as much as you possibly can into a working day, and almost this badge of honour of, aren't I wonderful, I've managed to work a 16-hour day. We see it in Hollywood movies, don't we? People working till 11 o'clock at night, and almost this suggestion that they're the most successful people. That isn't about working smart, and it isn't about managing your time. When you start trying to cram as much into a working day, you are not as productive and you are not smart. So for me, it's about being realistic about what you can do within each working day and also building in some contingency. You will never be able to fully do what you plan to do. Real life happens, interruptions happen, mini crises happen. So you have to make sure, for example, that if your working day looks like a 9 to 5, probably not. Most of us don't work those traditional hours anymore. But if that's what you're putting in, do not cram in from 9 a.m. until 5 p.m. You have to be able to plan for the reality of the day. And then what about saying yes to everything? This for me is something I hear all the time when I go out and work with people. And I'll be really honest, it's something I used to do all of the time. It was a real Achilles heel. Whenever people asked me, I'd say, yes, I can do that. Yes, I can do this. Not thinking about realistically what I could fit in. So learning how to say no is a really important skill for time management. And it's okay to say no. And I promise you, people will not fall out with you or think any less of you. In fact, they'll respect the fact that you are realistic about what you can achieve. And that leads me on to the next point really about if we say yes to everything, then there is always a risk that we end up sacrificing the quality for quantity. So we'll know this in the hospitality industry, of course, when we look at tables, we look at covers. We've got to really get the balance between doing enough covers, but doing them to a high enough quality that our customers are satisfied. It's exactly the same in terms of your time management. So what you're going to do it well, rather than trying to do too many things and doing them substandard. The other thing around time management is this temptation to work through breaks. I talked earlier on about well-being and how important it is. We often find that people have that temptation to just keep working through. We know from all of the research that's been done, certainly from my professional body, the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, that when we work through breaks, we are less productive. We need to have that downtime to enable us to rest, to recover, and be able to go again. We know that when we build in breaks, we are more productive. We know that we work at the top of our game when we're having regular breaks. So it's really important to do that. And if you are a manager, if you are an owner, think about what impression you're giving to your staff when you work through your breaks. Is there an expectation that they do the same? So we want everyone to be healthy and at the top of the game every day. So make sure you take those breaks. The final point I want to talk about is around how we look at how long it takes us to do particular tasks. We know, and I know when I go in and work with people, with teams, with businesses, that everybody underestimates how long a task is going to take. So whether that is a small task, whether it is a day's event, whatever it might look like, we all have the tendency to underestimate. That immediately puts pressure on our time because we start to run behind quickly, it makes us feel pressure, and we end up running much longer than we thought we would. So my recommendation to you is to think about how do I look at when I've done activities, how long they actually took. Am I going back? Am I reviewing? Are we realistically looking at how much something is taking? And are we making sure the next time we put in an accurate time provision? So that's the end of the first session of the 3 on time management. I hope you found the session both interesting and useful.